In this video, I want to take a look at the basic tax settings for JigoShop. So we go under Settings and we find our Tax tab up at the top here. There we go. So this default setting says we'll calculate taxes. Okay, now if you happen to not sell anything that's going to need taxing, then you could turn this off. So for example, here in our cart, you can see the taxes there. If I uncheck this, Save Tax Changes, and I click on my cart again, you're going to notice that there's absolutely nothing at all about taxes now. So you can turn that off completely if you wanted to. I'm going to turn it back on for us right now. Next, it says apply taxes after the coupon. Now, normally that's of course what you're going to want to do because you want to take off the value of the coupon, then do the taxes. But in case you need to apply taxes before coupons, you can uncheck this. Catalog prices include tax. Now, this is an interesting issue. Some people don't want to show taxes at all because they want to leave that for the checkout point for the cart. But some people want to include taxes, so you just need to make that clear to your visitors whether you're including the tax in the price or not. Subtotals, typically you don't want to include the tax in that. You want to separate out the two, but you could turn that on if you wanted to. All right, so that's basically how taxes work. Now, when you go into a particular product, just to refresh our memories here, you go under Advanced, under your product data here. And you've got to make sure that this is turned on. Quite often when people are having problems, it's because they've actually set this to nothing at all, no shipping or tax or anything like that. So you want to make sure that's on taxable. Then you have what are called tax classes, and by default, it'll come up as standard. And standard is there all the time. You can't get rid of that tax class. These other two, reduced rate and zero rate, they're actually over here, additional tax classes. And you could get rid of those if you didn't want to have those there to confuse anything. You just take that out completely. Or you could add some more of your own tax classes. Now the point here is that an item could be in one tax class, 2, 3 more tax classes. Okay. I'm going to show you exactly how these relate to what are called tax rates. Right now, as we can see, this dish is set under the standard tax class. And yet, if I go over here and I've got one of my dinner plates in here, and remember, let me refresh this because we're now showing our taxes. Let me refresh this. There we go. So there's our tax, but yet nothing's being calculated. And yet it says right here, it's taxable and it's under the standard tax class. Well, that's because over here in our tax settings, we haven't actually set any rates yet. Okay, we've got classes, but we haven't set rates to apply to those classes. Now they call them tax rules down here and tax rates over here, but let's add another rule that's going to set a rate. Now it's going to be under the standard rate here. And I'm going to call this one, the label that it's going to display, I'm going to call it GST. That's a federal tax here in Canada. So now I'm going to choose where this tax will be applied. I just click in here under Country and State. Brings up my drop-down list here, my select list rather. And I'm going to choose all of Canada because GST applies everywhere in Canada. It's at a 5% rate. I can add up to 4 decimal places here if I need to. And it does have to apply to shipping in Canada. GST applies to shipping, okay? And I'm going to save this tax change. Now, because I've already checked out with a product on here before, it knows I'm in Canada. It's estimating taxes for Canada. So let's update our shopping cart here now. And now it's going to reflect the GST. And there's my label, GST of 5%. $1.22, and it's applying both to the shipping. Remember, I've got a $10 handling fee plus $1 per item. So I've got a lot of shipping here for just one plate. $1.22 is being applied to both the subtotal and the shipping. So this is where I start to get specific. What places? Now, notice, by the way, now that I've saved this and refreshed it, it actually shows me all of the provinces of Canada. Let's say it doesn't apply a particular place, or I create a new tax rule. Let's do that, in fact. I'm going to create a new tax rule. I'm going to call this one PST, which is a provincial sales tax, but it only applies to British Columbia, okay, to my province. So where's my province? There I go. Now, this is only going to apply to my province, and it's at a 7% tax rate. Doesn't apply to shipping. And I'm going to save my tax changes. So I'm not touching anything with classes here. I'm simply applying some rules that apply to the standard class. Okay, so now I've got two different rules. Okay, this one's just for British Columbia. This one is for all of Canada. Now, let's take a look over here, and we're going to update our cart. Now, it has to know that I'm from British Columbia. Now, I haven't actually proceeded to checkout, but I have gone through this cart before. And is it going to remember? No, it's not remembering me. Okay, so I proceed to checkout, and let's just see what's happening here. Now, this is one of the things that I've noticed is, oh, no, see, it does say British Columbia. So it should know that I'm in British Columbia, but it doesn't at the moment. So I'm going to change my information here, and then I'll come back in another video and we'll finish up this notion of how do you do different tax rates for different locations.